Hello, my name is Darris. I'm a professor of educational leadership at Clemson University. My scholarship focuses on post-secondary education access and opportunity, and I engage in critical, participatory, and visual methods to study racial equity, spatial equity, and class equity in education. My current scholarship focuses on the intersection of place, race, and class to understand pathways to and through post-secondary education for rural students as well as for Black students. Participatory action research is an approach, a methodology, a theory of change that brings together researchers and people who are directly impacted by the social phenomenon or issue under investigation. Together, these communities of scholars study and seek to address social issues while also speaking back to people in positions of power about those social issues. The roots of participatory action research can be traced to Paulo Freire, who emphasized the significance of critical consciousness to create social change. When I'm introducing participatory action research to new people, I emphasize the importance of attending to power dynamics in research to ensure co-researchers have the power to make decisions. I emphasize the need to center critical consciousness and reflection, the recognition of expertise that people have about their own lives, and the opportunity to provide space for imagining and also proceeding with ideas for social change based on what is learned in the research. Participatory action research projects can unfold anywhere. Participatory action research can happen in classrooms, schools, districts, higher education institutions, healthcare settings, and in communities. The most critical component of participatory action research is that there's a collaboration with people who are directly impacted by the research. For example, one of my first participatory action research studies I ever focused on was about educational access and opportunity for youth from low-income families and first-generation college students. To ensure this study reflected a participatory action research approach, it was critical that the youth who are from low-income families and youth who are first-generation college students were co-researchers who had the agency and power in the project to make decisions, to be engaged in data collection and data analysis, and to develop a way to highlight the findings to people in positions of power who can make a large-scale change in the community. Participatory action research brings researchers and anyone who might be a potential beneficiary of the research together. What's really exciting about this approach is about the opportunity to not only study a social issue or social phenomenon, but to seek ways to disrupt and transform inequity or social problems. Participatory action research can be done with educators, parents, guardians, youth, community members. Participation research can also bring together youth and adults in the same project, or it could be a youth participation research project where youth voice and agency are centered in the project. As someone who practices participation research, the key piece for me of why I want to do participation research is the opportunity to learn from people who are directly impacted by the social phenomenon under study. So often when we think about ways to make improvement or to address critical issues in education, it's very easy to become very siloed and focus on what we may know as researchers. But there's so much critical expertise from the people who are experiencing these social issues or social challenges on a day-to-day basis. There's an opportunity to learn from people, to work alongside others, to study these topics, collect data, analyze data, but more importantly, to think about how do we improve and address these inequities in collaboration with others who are directly experiencing these social issues or challenges. Participatory research is a good approach to use when collaboration with individuals who are directly impacted by the researchers, co-researchers, is the priority. The collaboration should provide space for co-researchers, whether they are youth or adults, to have agency in the project and to be the people who are driving what the improvement approaches should look like in the project. Participatory research is a good approach to use when critical consciousness and reflection are also a priority in the project. A participatory research project should provide space for a community of scholars to grapple with how power materializes in social, political, and economic dimensions of life, and to take action to change these realities. Participatory research works best when researchers are really interested in providing space for critical reflection, critical dialogue with co-researchers. Again, co-researchers being individuals who um, are maybe directly impacted by the social phenomenon or problem under investigation. Participation research works best when we are thinking about ways that we are centering the expertise of the people who are experiencing these social issues and the social phenomenon. When we are given space for them to grapple with the possibilities of how do we change the realities of these social issues or social problems. It can be challenging in a participatory research study to use a top-down approach. Participation research relies on the collaboration with individuals who are directly impacted by the research, serving as co-researchers. Thus, there must be an openness to centering the agency and voice of co-researchers by allowing room for co-researchers to make decisions about how to engage in the study and their perspectives about opportunity for improvement. It can also be challenging in participation research to be driven by a singular change idea because the change idea decided on by the co-researchers may not always be in line with what you come in the project in mind with. Sometimes it may not always be easily measurable depending on what change idea people may want to take up. Additionally, the most important change that comes out of a project may be change in self versus the intervention or a change idea. By change in self, I mean that in participation research, critical consciousness is such an essential component of these projects. And so a change in self could be a person's increased awareness around the social, economic, and political realities of the world, and also a sense of self of being able to say, I feel like I have agency to make a difference. So when engaged in a participation research project, the change in self can be almost more valuable than the change idea or the intervention that a team may come up with to improve a social issue. If a researcher or educator wanted to start using participation research, I would recommend reading more about the methodology and exploring learning opportunities. There's some excellent resources and opportunities out there, but one that I would particularly point out is the Public Science Project based out of the City University of New York's Graduate Center. I personally had the opportunity to engage in a critical participation research institute over 12 years ago, which was so critical for my own learning about participation research and how to carry out these projects in an ethical way, but in a way that also centered critical consciousness and agency of others.